الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا وشفيعنا وحبيبنا ومولانا محمد صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Our Hujjaj are leaving, our Hujjaj have left. May Allah take them safely and may Allah fulfill their wishes and bring them back safely to us, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Our Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said, Al-Umratu ila al-Umrah kafaratun lima baynahuma. Get Ali to sort out that back. Al-Umratu ila al-Umrah kafaratun lima baynahuma. Umrah is an expiation for the sins committed between it and the previous one. Wal-Hajj al-Mabrur laysa lahu jaza'un illa al-Jannah. And the reward of Hajj Mabrur, in other words, one accepted by Allah, brings no less a reward except paradise. May Allah grant all that who went for Hajj. May Allah grant that, Ya Allah. Our Hujjaj, you will be confronted with many challenges when you are on and return from Hajj. But how one deals with it are one of the lessons of Hajj. We have to recognize and embrace our weaknesses. Allah created of us differently and uniquely and will resurrect us in our uniqueness right down to our fingertips, which identifies us by the fingerprints. And Allah says, بَعْدَ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ بِسْمِ اللَّهِ الرَّحْمَنِ الرَّحِيمِ بَلَا قَادِرِينَ عَلَىٰ أَن نُسَوِّيَ بَنَانَهُ. Indeed, yes, we are able to shape his fingertips yet again. Subhanallah. Right? It's only over the last 100 or 200 years people realize that each one has a fingerprint which is unique to ourselves. Ya Allah says, Bala qadirina ala an nusawwiya banana. More than 1400 years ago, we are able to shape his fingertips yet again. Subhanallah. We come from different tribes and different nations. For Allah says, Ya ayyuhan nas, this is really the human charter. With the United Nations must still go sleep and still work it out. This human charter was done more than 1400 years ago. Where Allah says, Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qaba'ila lita'arafu. O people, we have created you from a male and female. Like I need to digress here. From Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Right? Like we find astaghfirullah, what's happening in the dunya today. Allah protect our children. Ya Allah. We have created you from a male and a female and made you into nations and tribes so that you may know one another. Not discriminate. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. Very the most honorable of you with Allah is that believer who has got consciousness. May Allah grant us that, Ya Allah. Inna Allaha alimun khabir. For Allah is all-knowing and all-aware. Allah also created humans with differences. And this is the law of creation. On the outside, we all have different languages, different colors, different cultures. However, on the inside, humans were created with different degrees of knowledge and intellect and comprehension of concepts. This is a sign of Allah's all-encompassing power to do whatever He wills. As He says, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ خَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاخْتِلَافُ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ وَأَلْوَانِكُمْ. And amongst His signs is the creations of the heavens and earth, and the differences of your languages and your colors. Inna fi dhalika la'ayat lil alameen. Surely there are signs in this for all the worlds. Humans shall differ. Is a reality. But this is not an issue-making reality. The real issue is how should one confront these differences of opinions, and what should our relationship be with someone with a different opinion. O Hujjaj, and us all, you should be the shining example when you return to your communities, O Hujjaj, and advise us and call us back to the deen of Islam. Many Muslims set off on this mission blindfolded, not realizing that the map, the GPS is already in the Quran. For Allah says, Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmah wal maw'idatil hasana. Invite to the way of your Lord with wisdom and good instruction. وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. And argue with them in a way that is good. Allah taught us to debate the truth and how to do it. With hikmah, with good instruction, and to argue in a way that is good. What does it mean to have hikmah, wisdom, when differing with someone? The nephews of our Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam once set out, and with the most beautiful of examples of hikmah in advising others. They were young, and Sayyidina Hassan and Sayyidina Hussein radiallahu anhu saw an elderly person performing wudu incorrectly. So together they arranged a plan to teach the man without insulting him, and advising him in a manner befitting of his age. Some of us today, Oman, you can hear some taslim, you begin with you. Astaghfirullah tawbah. Look at how the nephews of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is advising the elderly person. They went to the Sahabi and said, Uncle, my brother and I differ who amongst us performs wudu the best. So please be the judge to determine which one of us indeed performs wudu more correctly. Subhanallah. So the man watches intently as the two grandsons of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam performing the wudu in an explicit manner. I mean, who was their teacher? Come on. None other than their grandfather, Subhanallah, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. After they had finished, the man thanked Sayyidina Hassan and Sayyidina Hussein and said, Wallahi, I did not know how to perform wudu before this correctly. You have both taught me how to do it correctly. Subhanallah, this is hikmah, this is wisdom. We must understand that there are two dimensions in hikmah, in wisdom. First, there is the hikmah of knowledge, hikmah ilmiyah, and second, there is the hikmah of action, hikmah amaliyah. Some people may have the hikmah of knowledge. However, we see that when they try correcting others and advise, then they lack the hikmah of action. And this causes many people to reject the hikmah of knowledge, because the way you portray yourself to them. To give an example of hikmah of knowledge without hikmah of action. A brother once completed salah in a local masjid. He then proceeded, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Allahumma salam was recited by the Imam and everything. And then he briefed him, Assalamu alaikum, Allah accept, Allah forgive us. The brother to his right immediately snapped at him. He said, that is not part of the sunnah. And he knocks his hand out of the way. I asked the question, is disrespect and insult part of the sunnah? yet our Nabi alayhi salatu wassalam says, إذا التقى المسلمان فتصافحا وحمدا الله عز وجل واستغفراه. If two Muslims meet and shake hands and praise Allah and ask Him for forgiveness, غفر لهما, Allah will forgive them. Subhanallah, may Allah forgive us. Without mentioning names, a big sheikh said, whom people like to listen to, he says, don't greet me, just take my message that I give you. How did our pious predecessors handle rectification, even himself? One day, Imam Malik, rahimahullah, entered Masjidul Nabawi after Asr, and he sat down towards the front of the masjid. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has commanded that anyone who enters the masjid should not sit until he prays 2 rakat tahiyatul masjid, the greeting of the masjid. Isn't that so? However, Imam Malik rahimahullah, a giant in fiqh, was of the opinion that Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam of forbiddance of praying after Asr Salah, because you know we don't make any Salah after Asr, took precedence over Tahiyatul Masjid. Therefore, Imam Malik rahimahullah would teach his students not to pray Tahiyatul Masjid if they entered the masjid between Asr and Maghrib. At that moment, that time, Imam Malik rahimahullah sat down, and a person had seen him sit without him performing 2 rakats Tahiyatul Masjid. Immediately and in insulting way, get up and perform your 2 rakats Tahiyatul Masjid. Imam Malik rahimahullah immediately got up and he performed 2 rakats Tahiyatul Masjid. What will some of us do? Hey, my sheikh het vir my geleer. My sheikh has taught me that I must do that. Who are you to come and tell me? Hey, that's it. Isn't that so? Astaghfirullah. Allah grant us that we don't have those kind of habits. Look what Imam Malik did. He immediately prayed 2 rakats Tahiyatul Masjid. The students were looking at this and they were absolutely stunned. Because after he completed his salah, the students swarmed around him and they questioned him. But you taught us, Ya Sayyidi, that we shouldn't perform 2 rakats Tahiyatul Masjid after Asr. Right? Imam Malik rahimahullah said, my opinion has not changed, nor have I gone back on what I have taught you earlier. I merely feared, look at this logic, I merely feared that had I not prayed the 2 rakats as the young person commanded me, Allah might include me in the ayah where He says, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمُ ارْكَعُوا لَا يَرْكَعُونَ. And when it is told to them to make ruku, they don't make ruku. I feared that ayah was going to come upon me. That's why I made 2 rakats. Look at the humility of the great Imam Malik rahimahullah. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah held the opinion that eating camel meat nullifies one's wudu. An opinion which the majority of the scholars differ from, obviously, but this was Imam Malik's opinion. So some students asked him, if you find an imam eating camel meat in front of you, and without making wudu, he is now leading the salah, would you make salah behind him? So some of us don't want to make salah for lesser instances than camel meat. Okay? So look at Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal's reply. He said, do you think I would not pray behind the likes of Imam Malik and Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib of Medina, who were amongst the foremost authorities in jurisprudence fiqh and among the tabi'in? Subhanallah. Look at the hikmah, again the wisdom. Allama Sha'rani writes, Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah happened to visit the grave of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah during the time of Fajr. He performed the Fajr Salah without reciting the Qunut. As you know, Shafi'i, they recite Qunut in the Fajr. And then he recited, when he was asked, he said, how could I recite Qunut in the presence of this great Imam when it was his opinion not to recite it in Fajr? To show hikmah, when we differ, requires sincerity. If we differ, our intention should be that we are differing in the sincere hope of coming away with the truth. Our intentions should be sincerely for the sake of Allah. We should not differ just to release some hate or envy in the heart. Nor should we differ to embarrass someone like we may have been embarrassed. For Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, من تعلم علما مما يبتغى به وجه الله لا يتعلمه إلا ليصيب به عرضا من الدنيا لم يجد عرف الجنة يوم القيامة. He who does not acquire knowledge with the sole intention of seeking the pleasure of Allah, but for worldly gain, will not smell the fragrance of Jannah on the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah. Allah. Also, there has to be kindness and gentleness when we rectify people. To have hikmah, to have wisdom. When differing means we should really depart from an atmosphere of kindness and gentleness. We should seldom allow ourselves to become angry and raise our voices. Fir'aun was one of the evilest persons that lived. On the other hand, Musa alayhi salam was one of the noblest persons. And look how Allah told Musa alayhi salam to advise Fir'aun. Idhaba ila Fir'aun innahu tagha. Go both of you to Fir'aun, for indeed he has transgressed. فَقُولَا لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا لَعَلَّهُ يَتَذَكَّرُ أَوْ يَخْشَى. And speak to him, says Allah. Speak to him with gentle speech. Perhaps he may remember or be fearful. So take your time and clarify. Very important. To have hikmah when dealing with others is to be patient and clarify things before snapping to conclusions. Imam Ahmad rahimahullah narrates and quoting Ibn Abbas, who said, a man from Banu Salim passed by a group of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's companions during the time of war. And the man said, Assalamu alaikum to them. The companions concluded he only said Assalamu alaikum as a deception to save himself from being caught. They surrounded him and Malham ibn Juthamah killed him. From that even Allah revealed the ayah, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu idha darabtum fi sabilillah fatabayyanu. O you who have believed, when you go forth to fight in the cause of Allah, investigate. Right? Be very careful. It happened in another case as well, where a person was at line, the enemy was on the bottom, and the Sahabi wanted to kill him with the sword, and he immediately said the Shahada. What would some of us think? He's only trying to save his own life, that's why he must say the Shahada. You and I have no right to judge. The Sahabi pulled his sword away because he said the Shahada. Did you cut his heart to see what his intentions are? So we have to be very careful. Right? What about the Muslim? How should you not talk to him? Astaghfirullah. وَلَا تَقُولُوا لِمَنْ أَلْقَى إِلَيْكُمُ السَّلَامِ لَسْتَ مُؤْمِنًا. And do not say to the one who gives you a greeting of peace, you are not a believer. Hey, you must see today how we make each other kafir. Hey, you got Jahannam too. One guy told me, don't put me there, I'm already there. Astaghfirullah. We see the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, a beautiful example, how even our Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was rebuked in the Quran because Abdullah ibn Maktoum, a blind person. One day the Nabi alayhi salam was addressing one of the great leaders of Quraysh while hoping that he would accept Islam. While he was speaking in direct conversation with him, Ibn Maktoum came to him, and he was of those who accepted Islam in its earliest days. And Ibn Maktoum then began asking Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam about something urgently, beseeching him. The Prophet alayhi salam hoped that the man would be guided. So he asked Ibn Maktoum to wait for a moment so he could complete his conversation. And he frowned in the face of Ibn Maktoum and turned away from him in order to face the other person. And Allah corrected Nabi alayhi salam in the Quran. Abasa wa tawalla. He, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, frowned and then turned away. An ja'ahul a'ma. From a blind man who had come up to him. وَمَا يُدْرِيكَ لَعَلَّهُ يَزَّكَّى. You never know. Perhaps he wanted to purify himself. أَوْ يَذَّكَّرُ فَتَنْفَعَهُ الذِّكْرَى. Or receive some Quranic advice which would benefit him. أَمَّا مَنِ اسْتَغْنَى فَأَنْتَ لَهُ تَصَدَّى. As for him who thinks himself self-sufficient, to him you want to pay attention? وَمَا عَلَيْكَ أَلَّا يَزَّكَّى. Though you will not be questioned, even if he never purifies himself. وَأَمَّا مَنْ جَاءَكَ يَسْعَى. As for the one who comes to you earnestly, striving for guidance, وَهُوَ يَخْشَى, and who has fear of God, فَأَنْتَ عَنْهُ تَلَهَّى. You ignore him. كَلَّا إِنَّهَا تَذْكِرَةٌ. No, beware. These verses are a reminder. Subhanallah. We have been speaking to ourselves and to our hujjaj that we will be faced with questions and differences. I'm telling you, even when I was in Hajj in the 90s, subhanallah, you know how they differ on Arafat? No, but my Imam says, no, it must be like that. No, but Shafi says like that. Hanafi says like that. And if they argue and fight, whether Shafi, Hanafi, Maliki, Hanbali, Jafri, they're all Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi, they're all Muhammadi. Subhanallah. After these verses, when it was recited of Abasa wa Tawalla, Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to honor Ibn Maktoum and give him the utmost respect. Subhanallah. He used to say to him, do you need anything? Is there anything that you require of me? Right? And before the Prophet ﷺ would leave his presence, he would ask him, what can I do for you? I have spoken this way for the benefit of our Hujjaj, who will be in the spotlight when they return. And for us as well, for we will be confronted with issues all our lives. My humble attempt is for you to manage it and not win the argument and lose the battle. Lose the argument and win the battle and win Allah's pleasure. Let us develop a resolve to revive the air of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions breathe an air of mercy, love and brotherhood. Khalil Gibran says so beautifully. He said, I have learned silence from the talkative. I have learned toleration from the intolerant. And I have learned kindness from the unkind. Yet strange, I am ungrateful to those very teachers. Subhanallah. I end with this hadith where Nabi alayhi salam said, I was sitting with the Prophet alayhi salam in the masjid in Mina, and a man from the Ansar and a man from the tribe of Thaqif came. They both made salam and said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, we have come to ask you. The Prophet alayhi salam immediately said, if you both wish, I will inform you of that which you have come to ask me. That's called firasa. Ittaqu firasat al-mu'min fa-innahu yanduru bi-nurillah. Beware the sense of perception of that great wali, that person who's able to read you with the nur of Allah. Subhanallah. These are the great awliya Allah, awliya Allah. Or if you wish me to withhold and you ask me instead, I will do so. So they said to him, Ya Rasulullah, inform us. Then the man from Faqir said to the Ansari, ask. So he said, inform us, O Messenger of Allah. So Nabi alayhi salam said, you have come to ask me about your leaving from your homes, intending to go to the Kaaba. And about the 2 rakats after Tawaf and what you have in the reward for them. About you walking between Safa and Marwa and what you have in the reward for it. About your standing on the day of Arafah and what you have in the reward for it. About you stoning the Jamarat and what you have in the reward for it. About you slaughtering and what you have in the reward for it. Alongside the Ifadah, moving from Muzdalifah to Mina and then to Makkah. So the man says, by him who sent you with the truth, it is this that I have come to ask you about. SubhanAllah. So the Prophet ﷺ said, as far as you're leaving from our home, intending the house, then your camel does not put a foot down or raise a foot, except that Allah writes for you a good deed and a sin is wiped away. As far as your 2 rakats after Tawaf, then they are equivalent to freeing a slave from the children of Ismail alayhi salam. As for your walking between Safa and Marwa, then it's equivalent to freeing 70 slaves. As for your standing on the day of Arafah, then indeed Allah descends to the lowest heavens and boasts to his angels saying, my servants have come to me, disheveled through every mountain, passage, hoping for my mercy. Thus they leave from Arafah to Muzdalifah to Mina, then Makkah. Allah says, O my worshippers, with your sins forgiven and the sins of those who you have interceded for. SubhanAllah. So ask him to make dua for you. King Charles is known for that. Make dua for us. Convey our salam to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. To all Hujjat, to amongst the group, this is my special request to you, SubhanAllah. As far as your stoning the Jamrah, then you have for every stone you throw the expiation of a sin from the deadly major sins. As for your slaughtering, then it is preserved with your Allah. As for your shaving your head, then you have for every hair you shave a good deed and the removal of a sin. As for your farewell tawaf, after this, then indeed you make tawaf without any sin. Thereafter an angel places both his hands between your shoulder blades and says, work well in your future, for certainly your past has been forgiven. May Allah accept your Hajj and make us all of those who have learned from the lessons of Hajj, and Hajj Mabrur, safe travel, O Hujjaj, and come back safely to us. Thank you so much.